Hi guys, it's Ryan Fowler here with Kai with another episode of InnerMasculine Live, except we're recording because we tried going live and there was a big delay and a bunch of crap. So that's just how it goes sometimes. But Kai, I wanted to have him on the show. He's very gracious and agreed to do that. Not too long ago, I did a session with Kai, and Kai's struggles are very typical of what a lot of guys go through. And a lot of my clients want, to keep the details of their session private, but some are gracious enough to share with the world how things, how the techniques I use help them move forward, help them get unstuck. We did one session. Now, Kai, you're in Singapore, and go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
Yes, so my name's Kai from Singapore. Originally from New Zealand, but I moved to Singapore when COVID hit. So I'm very fortunate. I work remotely. I recently had my first daughter. So
Congrats.
part of why I did reach out to you was, one of the things I want to do is I want to be a good dad, and part of that is not having my trauma pass onto my kid, onto my daughter. So part of like getting involved in doing this hypnotherapy, something I was honestly initially pretty skeptical of. But I'm really glad that I went ahead and did that.
Yeah, I recently did a session a show with Teresa Kay. She is inner feminine. She does hypnosis and helps others. And we did a session on generational trauma, how you can have a child traumatized, but their parents are traumatized, and then the grandparents are traumatized, and it just goes on down the chain, and it keeps getting passed on. And I talked about how there's nobility in not only clearing your trauma for yourself, but then your bloodline kind of flows clean, because you're not passing that on. So that's awesome that you did that. So can you tell us a little bit about what you were struggling with and why, the struggles that led you to say, hey, I got to fix this, maybe other methodologies you've used to try and fix what you're struggling with. Tell us about your struggles and how you tried to fix it before.
Well, I've been through, in terms of, I've been doing self-improvement for like over 10 years now. So I've pretty much tried it all, meditating, the daily routines, all of that. So I've kind of been floating in and out of it. So I haven't been, so sometimes I'm like super consistent with it and then I'll kind of fall off.
Sure.
I think, like kind of why I reached out to you was like, I felt like there was like kind of a dark cloud over me. And it was, I had a lot of this negative kind of self-talk, and no matter what I would kind of I'll do my affirmations. It just didn't quite, it would work for a while, but it would still be there. So it made a lot of sense to me that there was probably something subconscious that I didn't confront properly. I guess some of the pain that I've had, I think I've just minimized it or blocked it out, but I never fully addressed it.
Yeah. So, and that's very common. A lot of, I teach guys to do self-talk, a particular way to do affirmations, all of that, because that's important. But with your subconscious, there's another level deeper down, and self-talk and affirmations, all of that can temporarily modify how you feel. And to a limited degree over a long time, it can actually influence your subconscious. Takes a long time, but I've experienced this in my own life. I've had other people tell me this. They can logically think something up here, and then down here just feel completely different. And it's like, no matter how much they say this up here, there's just some big chunk here that just won't change just with self-talk. Would you agree, or was your experience different?
Yeah, exactly. It would work for a little while, but then, something big would happen that would kind of knock me off course, and then it'll just be hard for me to kind of start over again. So I wanted something a bit more long-term, effective, and because it just felt like I was just putting a Band-Aid over how I was feeling each time.
Yeah, good analogy.
Yeah. So that, yeah.
What do you think this dark cloud was? What do you think that was about?
I guess for me, it was a lot of it was I'm just not good enough. Yeah, I felt a lot of imposter syndrome. I felt like at times I was self-sabotaging myself. So there were, yeah, and there would be certain things that happened to me early in life that I would kind of go back to and think that, and then it would just pull me back into that memory or that moment. So yeah. So I wanted to just kind of address it and like kind of put it to rest. Yeah, in that
Yeah.
sense.
Do
Yeah.
you think that toxic shame feeling not good enough is tied to self-sabotage? And self-sabotage can be pretty complicated and baffling for people. So
Mm,
I think I helped you with that. You can tell me about that. But
yeah.
if you want, I can explain it for our audience. But do you think the not good enough toxic shame is tied to self-sabotage? And do you have clarity on that?
Yeah, I would say so. Those things are kind of tied together. Um, in the sense that if you're not feeling so, for instance, kind of, I think I was explaining at my job that at times I don't feel like I know enough. I'm not doing enough. And then I would get anxiety over certain tasks. And
Mm.
then I just wouldn't do it right away. I would procrastinate a
Yeah,
lot.
because this is all
And then,
avoiding pain. The
Mhm.
toxic shame in you, if it gets triggered, it feels like crap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you
Mhm.
actually mess something up or you actually don't do what you're supposed to do, especially if you get reprimanded or something like that. I mean, has that
Mhm.
happened to you? You make a mistake and then you get triggered with the toxic, this I'm not good enough. Do you?
Yeah. So yeah, even it would just be some small kind of criticism. I guess at times I can be pretty self-critical, so this can kind of
Yeah.
turn into that negative self-talk, and
Yeah. Been there,
then
done that. Not anymore, but in the
yeah,
past,
yeah, yeah.
100% for me
So
too.
in that particular moment, it felt quite heavy, but then I would uh, kind of think about it later, journal it, and I was like, why was I so wound up over something so small, really? Right. So yeah. So it's kind of like since we've had that session, like
Hmm.
work has just been something that I normally would have avoided or procrastinated on. I just kind of just went ahead and just and pushed through it.
You
Right.
just do it
So
now. Is that right?
yeah, yeah,
Dude, that's
yeah,
awesome. Yeah,
yeah,
so just so our audience understands, you were feeling, you're procrastinating, you were feeling anxiety. That is all our brain seeing, hey, man, this situation where I have to do this thing, if I mess it up, or maybe if I don't do it like I should, or just don't do it, I'm going to feel like crap. And that's because deep down in our subconscious, we have this toxic shame feeling, I'm not good enough. How our subconscious works, just so our audience understands, is these beliefs, I'm not good enough, etc., form in childhood based on how we interpret the world and things that happen to us. And as adults, those beliefs are still there. In fact, they're down in our subconscious and they're static. They don't change easily at all unless you use specialized techniques such as hypnosis. Most people will have subconscious beliefs form in their childhood. They'll stay down there their entire life. And as adults, we go through the world. Our subconscious scans the world around us. And anytime there's anything in the outside world that's a match for what's in us, it'll spike the feeling tied to that belief. So if you believe you're not good enough, and then something happens in the world that confirms, yes, indeed, you aren't good enough. See, you messed this up. See, you did this and you did fall short. It's going to spike this terrible feeling, and these outside criticisms can do that, or even self-criticism can spike this I'm not good enough feeling. It's a painful feeling. And so when we have anxiety, when we're procrastinating, when we're self-sabotaging, it's all our brain trying to get us to avoid any situation where that painful emotion could get triggered, because our number one behavioral modifier, the number one way our subconscious influences us the most strongly is, hey, if there's any potential for pain, get out of there, avoid that pain. Our brain wants us to avoid pain. The way to fix that is get rid of the painful subconscious programs inside of you. So that's more or less what I think we did for you, Kai. And So you talked a little bit on how you're just moving forward now. When we did the session for you, what did you notice as far as how things were different afterwards?
Yeah, so I just felt this weight just lift off of me. Yeah. The session, it was a good 5 hours. I was shocked
We're thorough,
how
man. We take our
yeah,
time.
yeah,
But go
yeah.
ahead.
It didn't feel like that though at all when I was doing it. It felt like 30 minutes.
Wow,
Yeah,
it
and
felt like 30 minutes?
yeah,
Dude.
yeah. So
Well, there
yeah,
was a
it
talk
didn't.
portion. We talked for a good 3 hours, and then the
Hmm.
session's like 2. Yeah, but keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah. So yeah, like one of the things that kind of weighed on me for a long time was, so I grew up in New Zealand, and we were like the only Asian family where we were living.
Yeah.
So I dealt with like racism, dealt with bullying from my brother. So those were things that I kind of held on to for quite a while. Um, and yeah, I just kind of like as an adult, I didn't deal with the, not as much racism at all. Obviously, I got
But
a
in your
lot
childhood, you
bigger, and
did, and that's still in there. Is
yeah,
that right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then then like the stuff around my brother, like yeah, like yeah, it just would never happen anymore now. Obviously, we're both grown adults, but I still carried that with me. And then now when I do think about those moments of when he did something that I didn't necessarily agree with, I don't hold that same level of resentment. Feel I just feel empty about it now. It's indifferent to
Dude,
me.
so cool.
Yeah. Before I was like yeah, and it would kind of weigh on me and bother me, and I would kind of relive that specific moment. Yeah, and yeah, I think like anytime I would share stories about stuff that he did, people would
Mhm.
get really like, oh, whoa. Like they could see the the anger kind of seep in when I
They
would
could see
talk about
anger
it.
in
Like,
you kind of coming out as you're talking about it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
again, as adults, if there's anything in the outside world that matches what's in you, so you had anger in your subconscious, start talking about what he's done, it's going to trigger that anger.
Mm.
But how much of that did we get out of you? Did we get 100% out, 50, 40, 80?
Yeah, I when I think about him now, I'm just totally indifferent. Totally indifferent about it.
Yes.
Just
And how many
yeah,
sessions?
yeah. Just one. Just
One
one. Yeah,
session.
just one.
So
Just one session. Yeah.
this is how it works, guys. Now, I'm not going to say I can help 100%. It's about 95%. There's about 5% for various reasons. I can't help in the first session. But what we're doing is we go down in your subconscious where this stuff is stuck there in as little as one session. I'm not saying we completely clean someone's subconscious out, but I usually hit up 2, 3, 4 of the worst subconscious programs. And this is a method, it's a technique to locate it, get it out, and then that stuff that plagued you before is just gone. And I mean, honestly, the method feels like a superpower. It really kind of does. Did that shock you that was gone, or
Yeah.
how surprised were you that it's just not there anymore?
Very, very surprised. Yeah. Because those feelings are so intense that some of the stuff that happened, I just felt like I could never let that go.
0
And
to
the
10,
fact
how
that
strong would it get before?
like an 8 or a 9.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pretty intense. And the thing is, I'm normally a very chill person. Like
Yeah, you're
people
pretty
would
even tempered. Yeah.
yeah, pretty even keel for the most part. So it does. So when I noticed I did get triggered, would be my mom or my brother when I would
Okay.
kind of think about those type of things. So yeah, yeah, like because I know at the back of my I don't know why, but it kind of I just revert back to me being a kid, and then I just get angry, and then my wife was like, "Oh,
That's how old you were
you
when
talking
that
to your
stuff
mom?"
got
And
in
I'm
there.
like,
You were a kid. Yeah.
yeah. They would just know kind of how to push my buttons. So now that I guess that power is taken away, it's just it's just the weight is just gone. So yeah.
Okay, awesome. So what other benefits did you notice, or any changes you noticed? I think you mentioned a little bit about you had imposter syndrome. How's that doing? Is there any procrastination, any anxiety still, or what would you say?
I would say like anxiety, it's gonna be there here and there
Yeah.
because
And that's how it'll be, because anxiety is not a bug, it's a feature, but we don't want it misfiring inappropriately. But yeah, keep going.
Yeah, definitely a lot less than kind of in the past. So in terms of being more productive, I wouldn't hold on to that feeling of failure as much. I reframed it as we kind of alluded to more. It's like you're going to learn more if you push through it and you push through the failure. If you push through the problem, you tackle it head to head, then that anxiety is going to drop, right? You get that task done. You instead of just like there were times when I would have certain things, I would just dwell on the problem. I would dwell on a meeting. I would dwell on how a client does this or that. But now it's like, okay, what can I do to alleviate that anxiety? I'm just gonna like make notes, be prepared for the meeting, rather than just dwell on it on my head over what scenario, this scenario, that scenario. And a lot of it, when I really think about it now, it's just noise. It's stuff that didn't even happen, really. I've just gone down a negative rabbit hole, wasted a whole bunch of time, and it just killed my productivity. So I've kind of reframed all those moments where, okay, I feel anxiety. What am I going to do? What can you do about it now, practically, to tackle that problem? So, yeah, that's really helped in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Sure. So there's kind of two things going on here. One is when the anxiety comes up, you're actually managing it now, and you have a mental model in place to handle it better and say, hey, what can I learn here? There's a way to tackle this. How do I tackle this? What's the solution? And hey, even if you mentioned earlier, if you fail, you still learn. That's actually a specific program I put in people, that failure doesn't affect your value. It's just learning and growing. The more you do anything, the better you get, until you have enough skill to get what you want. It's all just practice. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did you say, so one of our goals is lower the anxiety, or at least get rid of anxiety that's not serving you? Some anxiety is good. If you're on a mountain trail 2 feet wide, 1,000-foot drop on the right, you should be anxious. That's going to keep you careful or make you take a different path. But would you say your overall anxiety is lower and you're managing it better, or you're just managing it better?
Overall, it's down. Yeah,
nice.
For sure.
Yeah,
nice. Because like with that stuff that was triggering me, that was like a really high baseline. Now it's just a lot lower, so it never gets up to those levels where I'm like
amounts.
Really,
how would you describe it before? Did it paralyze or cripple you, or was it just a bigger speed bump, or what would you say?
Like, well, what I would say is like before, if it would really bother me, I would need to go take a walk and just get out of the house, completely change my environment. Right? Like walk it off for half an hour, like journal it, try and clear my head. Now, I'm just like, oh, okay. And then I'd just kind of move on, right? I wouldn't need those same coping mechanisms that I used to have.
Yeah, and see, for me, I used to have a ton of anxiety all the time, and I just noticed, for me, it just sapped my energy. Like I would get 9 hours of sleep a day, and I would still be exhausted by the end of the day. Because you have to do all this stuff to counter the anxiety, and for me, it was just taking away some of my energy. So you were skeptical at first. Anyone who's thinking about doing this, what would you tell them? Anyone considering they're struggling with these things, trapped anger, procrastination, feeling not good enough. what would you tell them if they're trying to fix that or overcome that, or they're thinking about doing hypnosis?
I would just say give it a try. Yeah, give it a try. Like if you've tried as much stuff as I've tried to try and figure it out, then it's totally worth it in that sense. And if you do get into that session, you just need to kind of surrender to the process. Really lean in. Don't be afraid to hold back. So yeah, the session was very intense for me. I felt my heart beat a little bit faster afterwards. I was like, whoa, like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I went through quite a journey. Yeah. So,
Yeah, we went deep
So,
down.
yeah.
And I have some people tell me what I do is kind of like a low level ayahuasca trip.
Okay.
But actually, this is very good advice. How you put it, I really love how you put it, because here's the thing. I tried like normal talk therapy. I tried, meditation and self-talk. And, just I was researching and trying, I did antidepressants, anti-anxiety, I tried that. This is how it is with anything. If you have things you're struggling with, you basically have two choices. Number one, don't do anything about it, and you're going to struggle the rest of your life. That's the bottom line. Number two, try and fix it. And hey, maybe the first thing doesn't work. Maybe the second thing doesn't work. Maybe the third thing doesn't work, or fourth. And then the fifth thing does work. And guess what? Now your life is permanently better. Totally worth it, right?
Yeah.
And this is how life is in general. Hey, you start a business, my first business failed. Start a business failed. I learned from it. Started a new business, different business, succeeded. Was it worth it? Abso-freaking-lutely. So don't be afraid, guys, to try new solutions. Hey, you tried one hypnotist, didn't work. Do your research, find another one who's really good. Try that. Hey, try EMDR. Hey, try talk therapy. Hey, try, psychedelics. There's actually ketamine is now legal, I think, in all 50 states. It's legal in a lot of countries in the world now. They're getting really good results with that. So I'm all for this advice, because at the end of the day, the most important investment you can make is invest in yourself. Like, how for you, how different, how worth it to you is it to finally find the solution? Like, how big of an impact is all this other stuff you've done in the last 10 years, you finally found the solution. Was it worth it to you to go through all that effort, try all those different things?
Yeah, like honestly, I wish I did it earlier. Yeah, like, I don't know. It's hard to kind of think about, but yeah, if there was, just all those hours wasted, the lack of productivity, yeah, I could have done a lot more than I have. Yeah, so in that way, I regret it. But I think part of it was I was super skeptical. I didn't know what hypnotherapy was. So when I learned a lot more about it, so I listened to a couple of interviews you did with MLD. So that kind of really helped frame the effect of it. And I think at the end of the day, it was just like, why not? Why not try something? Yeah, something a bit, I guess, I don't know if it's drastic, but just try it out and kind of see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe there's, in your mind, maybe 10% chance it works, but what if it does work? Oh my God, all this stuff I've been struggling with, I now have the key to just get rid of it and kick ass, And I really appreciate guys like you coming on, Kai, sharing your story, because I know, number one, there are a lot of hypnotists that aren't that good. There's a lot of misinformation out there about hypnosis and, even the effective types. Hey, does it really work? Is it just a bunch of bull crap? I've had people literally tell me it sounds like bull crap to me, to my face after I told them I did hypnosis. And it's like, okay, whatever, you can stay wounded and keep struggling, but there are so many methodologies out there. And when you kind of lend your voice to, hey, try this, guys, it really helped me. It's helping me so that I can help the world. You know, I'm not, I believe eventually, you know, I'll make plenty of money with this, but I took a big pay cut, quitting my old job that paid well into the six figures, not borderline six figures, well into that's gone, because I want to change the world with this. And guys like you lending your voice, Kai, I appreciate it, because it's helping people understand that, hey, maybe this is worth a shot, you know, and then they come to me and then I can help change the world, you know, and that's what I want to do, because I used to have struggled with so much stuff internally, you know, manic depression, just anxiety all the time, not believing in myself, feeling hopelessness, despair, feeling rage, all of that. This worked. It helped me. It's helped you now. And so thanks for sharing your story. Is there anything final you'd like to share with our audience, Kai?
Yeah, I would say so. Part of my motivation to kind of share my story is to kind of spread kind of awareness of mental health, especially men.
Yeah.
We just hold on to it inside, and we're afraid to kind of talk about it, right? So
A lot of guys
if
are
you
struggling, and I know you've seen fellow men struggling, you know.
yeah, especially like after COVID happened, and you know, and people like I've seen this in a lot of people. They just cope with other just to distract themselves. So it could be alcohol, it could be porn, it could be video games, junk food. Like you're just masking the symptoms of it, right? It's just a giant cope, right?
Yeah.
So if you're able to get to the root of your problem, I think all of us have a bit of trauma to some degree, if we're all being honest.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Because
but
very
finally,
few of us have a really ideal childhood. That's a very small number.
yeah. So yeah, for sure. If you can, yeah, it's hard to kind of put in words, but that weight that I felt that I don't have anymore, it's just another, it's an extra step. You got an extra pep to my step, let's say. Now that weight is gone. So yeah, it's gonna help me for the rest of my life. Yeah, so I'm appreciative that I took the leap, and then you were able to help me along with that. Yeah.
All right, rock and roll, my man. And you brought up one point I'd like to bring to your audience, the audience. If you guys, let's say you guys are feel you're doing okay, but let's say you're overeating. Let's say you're viewing too much, you know, viewing lots of porn, playing a lot of video games, not getting ahead in life. What I would say, if you want to see what's going on, stop the porn, stop the video games, stop the overeating junk food, whatever, you know, watching lots of TV, whatever you're tuning out with, stop it for like a week and then see how you feel. Because if you are using that to cover some stuff up, after about a week or so, it might happen after a day or 3 days or a week. That stuff's going to come to the surface. And then you're going to say, oh, crap. This is why I'm doing all that coping stuff, you know, trying to get likes and follows on Instagram, Facebook. I mean, that women struggle with that more, the whole likes and follows, because they like attention more. You know, it's part of their biological, you know, makeup as a woman more. But guys can get addicted to that stuff too. So any of the stuff you're using to cope, stop it, see what happens. And some of this trauma is going to start bubbling up, and now you're going to get clarity on what you're struggling with. And there are ways to resolve that. So thanks for sharing it. And anything else, Kai, before we let you go?
No. I think I've covered quite a bit. So
all right. Yes, you have, sir. I very much appreciate it. Our audience appreciates it. Guys, you have more power than you know. Kai, thanks for sharing your story. You don't have to stay stuck. We can get deep down belief in you to give yourself all the validation, approval, love you need unconditionally. And then if you fail or things go wrong, guess what? You're still good enough. And so you don't get wrecked over that. Get that self-belief in your core and then move forward. Kai, thank you for your time, my man. And just remember, everyone watching this, there is a solution out there. You don't have to stay stuck. You can resolve this. Hey, maybe instead of hypnosis, EMDR is the way for you. Well, you know what? You're not going to know until you try. So everyone out there, thank you for watching. Thank you, Kai. And you guys all have more power than you know.